Let's speak now to the Secretary General of the National African Federated Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or NAFCOC, Steven Sikhosana. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us. So the President is saying at the heart of our growth strategy is a bold and far-reaching economic reform agenda. The budget that he tabled that earlier on, does it belie this?
Thank you very much for having me. The budget tabled is not very much significant. Remember, South Africa's economy is very skewed, and black people participate very little. Now, nobody would pride himself for giving only 2.5 billion in the growth of the black industrialist, when they should be the majority of the beneficiaries of the government budget in the country. But also, even the growth, the 25 billion is not enough. We have a policy in the country that is called Black Economic Empowerment, but we also have quotas for every industry to procure government to procure from these industries. And those figures do not necessarily tally the budget announced today.
Perhaps it's important to understand this. The definition of black industrialists in this country, and I ask that against the backdrop of whether or not they would not overlap in other budget allocations. The President counted, you mentioned that 25 billion, saying that so far that 2.5 billion is for 180 black industrialists, of which there are how many?
Well, you're looking at over 3 million black business people in South Africa. And so 3 million versus the 180, it's a drop in the ocean. We're not going anywhere in terms of the development of black business. And we're not even denting the imbalances that happen in the country. Therefore, the President, as much as there would be a budget overlap to other departments, but I think the President should take a lead in projecting what would be realistically the budget that would satisfy or at least dent the imbalances of the industrialist program in the country. And I think it is very, very important to look at those situations against what the President also announced. The President spoke about the red tape. Even the 2.5 billion would take longer to actually reach the black business people themselves. And therefore, the red tape issues and the government bureaucracy needs to be addressed. And until those are addressed, it takes on average 1 year for any one industrialist to access money from government.
All right.
And the processes are very onerous, and they are very slow, and there's a lot of red tape in accessing even that money.
What was the mandate? It becomes
very important.
What was the mandate of this Red Tape Council? Because it sounds to me then, if the President says the council is still yet to think around interventions or identify priority interventions to remove the obstacles of growth, are they not known? What was the thinking behind creating the council in the first place?
Well, I think the thinking towards creating the council was to respond to the cry of black business that it is taking long for people to access government services, but also it is taking long for government to pay the services that they acquire from black business. Now, to me, those are two critical issues that the president needs to address. And to our knowledge as NAFCOC, that council has not yet started functioning, because that council has not yet interacted with us or with some of the majority of the organized black business in the country. So we don't think it has already started working, and therefore it would also take time for us to be able to explain exactly what the council wants to achieve.
Okay. The president did also speak about the fact that there has been some progress, particularly in the mining sector, saying that the long-awaited mining exploration strategy has been published, that this will bolster the sector. Would this also include black business people, to your mind, if we're saying we need to expand opportunities for black industrialists?
Look, on paper, the president is correct, but we have not seen that happening on the ground. And as a result, Black Industrialists Program needs to be used as a benchmark for transformation, for making sure that the majority of the people of the country participate in the economic mainstream of the country. But if we don't use that against the strategy of bringing more black business, and if we use it just as a camouflage to say at least black business is getting something, it becomes a little bit problematic to achieve those goals. And as a result, we appreciate that there's some policy direction and there's something on paper to say these things will happen. But until we see these things happening, black people still are not benefiting from the economy.
All right, thank you so much for speaking to us. That there is the General Secretary of the National African Federated Chamber of Commerce and Industry, NAFCOC, Steven Sikhosana.